call this regular council meeting of the Sun Beach Mountain Resort Municipality to order, for it is Tuesday, April 28th at 3 p.m. I'd like to acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Secwepemc people. Do you have any introduction of any late items at this point? No, thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated? Councilor Reagan moved, second by Councilor Gillespie. All in favor? So moved. 4.1, we have the meeting minutes of the public hearing from April 14th. Can I get a motion to adopt?
So
Moved by Councilor Reagan, second by Councilor Dye. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. And 4.2, the regular council meeting also for April 14th. Can I get a motion to adopt? Councilor Reagan, second by Councilor Gillespie. Any errors or omissions?
just one, Mr. Mayor, on item 6. I think we missed one piece here. I did raise the issue of contacting the ministry regarding the growing number of unauthorized signs. But that was also from a safety perspective, it's been a very critical part of that roadway, and I don't think we need too many distractions happening in that area, so we could just add that
to the notes. Okay, excellent, thank you. And all in favor of adopting? So moved. Okay, moving on to 5, presentations and delegations. We have a presentation under 5.1 from the Sun Peaks Housing Authority annual update. Chair Reagan switching his hat. And also made a picture. See, here we go.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing us to come before you. We'll try and make this as condensed as we can. Appreciate that you have a big agenda today. So the Sun Peaks Housing Authority, actually should introduce Jessie Abraham for those of you who don't know her. She's our housing manager. We call ourselves a dynamic duo, but she is all the dynamic. So we are a registered corporation whose sole shareholder is the municipality, and we are required to come to you annually to report. We have been in existence since 2018, but quite truthfully, the lack of funding resources has simply not made us an active housing authority. But exciting news more recently, the municipality with funds through the Housing Accelerator grant that they received and the provincial government funding through the BC Builds program has made 2025 a year of tremendous progress. So we're going to cover off 4 key areas: our strategic plan, the BC Builds project update. We're going to talk about employee housing criteria and leave some information with you as food for thought for the next steps. And we are required under our letters of incorporation to share with you a financial statement for the year ending in 2025. So our mission is to provide and manage housing options for all those who seek to be, seek to live in and be part of the Sun Peaks community. We went through a very condensed exercise of pulling together our 2026 to 2030 strategic plan. And in there we have 5 key focus areas in that plan. So we have housing development as one of our cornerstones, and obviously one of our first tasks is to complete the very exciting project that we've got going on at 1180 Sun Peaks Road, but also to look to the future to acquire additional land parcels and look to other housing options in terms of below market ownership and other rental opportunities. Under the property management focus, we essentially want to build a very robust, professional, and reliable property management structure to look after 1180 Sun Peaks Road, and as we continue to grow over all of our inventory. Under our funding and strategic partnerships, we appreciate that we get to do nothing without the strength of our partnerships in the municipality, the resort through our government partnerships, and and through our relationships with First Nations. So those are a very big cornerstone of what we need to do for the future to be shovel ready with new projects coming forward. Under community engagement, the idea here in terms of our strategic plan is to be vibrant and present and visible in our community and ensure that we're linked up from the perspective of managing the entities we have, but also ensuring that we're attuned to and meeting the needs of the population in Sun Peaks. And then under organizational governance, we see ourselves ultimately as being a role model and a trusted housing provider. And we will continue to strengthen our board and our governance structure to achieve that. You have on your agenda the more detailed version of our strategic plan. We don't intend to go through all of our objectives and goals with you. This is our strategic plan on it. Yeah, it certainly gives you a good focus of who we're at. So leaving at this particular point before I hand it over to Jesse, I just want to emphasize that the Sun Peaks Housing Authority is live. We've got a dedicated board of directors, and we're reaching out to the community on a variety of different channels to provide more timely information on the BC Builds project and where we're headed. We're focused in terms of the framework for what we want to accomplish over the next 5 years. And we're also active from the perspective of the fast track construction process that we have in the works. And with that, I will turn it over to Jesse to speak about the BC Builds project.
Thanks, Glenn. Okay, so I will provide an update on BC Builds project. So you may recall that this project was first initiated at the end of 2024 by the municipality in partnership with BC Builds. The contractor, who is Moranti, was awarded the project in early 2025. There was about a 6-month funding and design and permitting process that took place. And then construction officially started in September this past year. So work is well underway. If you've driven by there recently, this picture is looking a little bit old now. They've framed up to level 3. So in progress, building up to 6 levels. We estimate that the roof will be complete by November of this year, and we are on track for summer 2027 completion, which means move-ins would start shortly after that in the fall. Here's just a rendering that I wanted to share. So we, the Housing Authority, work closely with the resort to land on an exterior design that met the design guideline requirements. So that will be the view from Sun Peaks Road. So a little bit more about the project. So it is 6 stories, 110 units, including everything from studios to 3 bedrooms. And a little about the rental rates, just as a reminder. So up to 30% of the units will be below market, with the remaining at market rent rates. So what we mean by below market is that it will be 80% of market rate. And those units will be offered to those earning lower incomes. BC Builds does have income requirements for this project. So this project is geared to middle income households. We define that as studios and 1 bed. So for singles and couples, households must earn $143,000 or less annually. For family size units, so folks with dependents or children in 2 bedrooms or 3 bedroom units, their max income must be $212,000 per year. So BC Housing defines these income thresholds and updates them annually. So these are the 2026 rates. And this is a good segue. So BC Builds establishes the income criteria. And then we, the Housing Authority and the municipality, want to ensure this building is housed with employees. So it's up to us to come up with that criteria of what it means to be eligible. So why this matters? So we want to ensure housing is delivered to local employees and their families, and that we're supporting a stable and sustainable workforce. We also want to have a criteria that provides clarity, consistency, and fairness in tenant selection, so that when someone asks if they're eligible, that we can give them the checklist to determine if they are. And so how we approached this was an evidence-based approach. So we looked at a few other different communities who have employee housing models. So Whittier, Squamish, and Tofino were reviewed, as well as Canmore in Alberta, and then Breckenridge in the States to kind of give us a good diversity of what they're doing for employee housing criteria. And then our next step will be establishing that criteria. So what we're proposing, so just to kind of backtrack a little bit, the employment requirements can be specified in a municipal policy. As well, the housing authority can specify other requirements as well, and we'll get into that in a second. But we're proposing that the employee requirements are that the individual is employed by Sun Peaks business, that they're working a minimum of 26 hours per week. So this will be an annual average. So if they are working more during peak season and less during shoulder season, that it evens out to at least 26 hours. Working in Sun Peaks a minimum of 2/3 of the year, so 8 out of 12 months, again, to accommodate for that shoulder slower season. And we are requiring that only one individual needs to meet the employee requirements. A partner or spouse does not need to meet the same criteria. Further, we know that some people are self-employed in Sun Peaks. So if an applicant can prove that they earn 75% or more of their income locally and that they hold a business license with an address in Sun Peaks, they would also be eligible for housing. We did consider some reasonable exemptions as well, including retirees who previously worked in Sun Peaks, or someone receiving a disability pension and unable to work would also be eligible to live here. And other proposed requirements that we are considering. So occupancy requirements. So this is more in relation to the tenancy agreements. We want to ensure units are occupied as a primary residence. So subletting would not be permitted. The initial tenancy term would be for 1 year, followed by month-to-month tenancy. We would have residency requirements as well. So preference is for applicants to have lived in Sun Peaks for at least 6 months. Head leases would be exempt, and I'll get into head leases in a second. Our first priority is to house Sun Peaks residents. If for some reason, at least above the building, we're not able to fill all the units with local residents, we would look at the regional district residents as well. And then lastly, we do want to require that applicants do not own residential real estate. And then again, head leases would be exempt. So we are considering a head lease with a business if a business wants to house employees in a unit. And the way would work is the business will be responsible for rental payments, and then they will recover rent from their staff. And the intent is that the business can hold that unit for employees, especially if employees fluctuate throughout the year. And again, they would have a couple of exemptions in terms of residency and assets, because that would be a unique agreement. And I'll pass it back to Len to chat about financials.
So just to emphasize for council on those employment criteria, we are still working through those. We do believe that one piece of that puzzle needs to rest with the municipality in terms of a policy. And so any further dialogue and discussion would come through a formal council meeting with a report from administration on that side of it. We are required to provide you with a snapshot of the financial picture for the 2025 year end. And so just a few key pieces. The housing authority is in the active development stage. So the way these books will look over the next 2 or 3 years changes dramatically from 1 year to the next. The majority of the assets that the housing authority has are simply assets that are held as construction in progress. Our financing structure reflects the fact that we are in a BC Builds partnership, and we're using their model to fast track this particular construction project. So we do have assets in the order of 5.3 million that comes in construction in progress. So just over 5.2, and then cash and receivables of 72,000, which is residual of the funds that we have from the Housing Accelerator Fund grant money that the municipality provided. The liabilities essentially mirror the construction situation that we have, and total equity of about 84,000 in terms of the project. things wrong with. In terms of the next piece of the financial picture, our 2025 revenue, it was $106,000 from municipal contributions. Again, that Housing Accelerator Fund money was very timely from the federal government. Our operating expenses have been about 22,500 over the course of the year, leaving that 84,000 surplus that we talked about. So the BC Build's financing structure, the total project is 48.2 million, of which we have $11.1 million grant coming from the provincial government. Now that grant is essentially considered as a forgivable loan. So they don't hand you the pocket of money. You have to sign up, spend it. I have a forgivable loan, and over time, that gets taken down to the point where you have essentially earned the $11.1 million loan. So we have in the forgivable loan spent 5.55 million, and then in the repayable portion of the loan, we're at 4.24 million. Keeping in mind that this is the construction snapshot, if you will, and longer term, once the project is finalized, we will actually place the final loan amounts with CMHC or the province, depending on how that unfolds. And so last note of clarification that these financials are not an audited financial statement. We went through a compilation audit, which is a far more simplistic approach, particularly in the early stages of something like the housing authority, where we're just starting and embarking on the construction process. So we save a bit of money rather than pouring all of that energy into an audited statement, and those audited statements will come ultimately before council when we do our next 2026 or the next fiscal update for 2026 and 2027. So at this point, we'll turn it back over to council. If you have any questions, Jesse and I are more than happy to attempt to address those.
Chair Eichen, council?
Yeah, first, great job, thanks. So assuming the contractor is providing monthly budget updates, how are we doing so far? Are we on track? Let's we're in the dirt, we're building up. How are we working?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. I think we're looking fairly positive at this particular point. I mean, I think we have to recognize that a project of this magnitude has some significant costs coming at us to get in the ground, get all the foundations done, and then that sort of levels out as we go over time. We've spent about 25% of the project budget to date, and we're pretty comfortable with where we're standing as we move forward. So we do go through a fairly rigorous process of checks and balances, so that and this is required under the BC Builds program, right? So that as work is progressing, there's an independent quantity surveyor that's going through, making sure that what's being claimed for progress payments is in fact real and on the ground and in place.
Thanks.
Scott?
Oh, I think I'm good when you're, excuse me. And right now, sort of the proposed employee eligibility criteria, when do you think we're going to nail down those last, like not make them proposed anymore?
Good question. So our hope is that we have a criteria to share with the community by the fall, and with businesses as well, so that we know which employees qualify for housing in the community. So kind of working back towards that would be 5 months from now. And so our hope is that there would perhaps be a policy presented to council from municipal staff, and then the housing authority would have a policy for that as well. And then we would also be preparing information to the public for our webpage.
Yeah, because I think especially for the, what do you call it, the head lease, like the lease through the businesses, obviously, they would need some time to kind of make plans, maybe keep or not keep existing staff housing they have, or sort of right into their budget and planning for the next year, so.
Absolutely, and we're starting to think about how to engage businesses coming this fall as well, and what those head leases will look like. So certainly I'll have to keep in touch with them.
I think our hope would be that somewhere towards the middle and end of May, the council will be looking at the municipal policy portion, and we'll certainly have the housing authority policies in place when council will look at that.
Good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you. I know, obviously, I'm on the Housing Authority Board. There's a bit of symbolism today for me in the two back-to-back presentations today, the Housing Authority and then the skate park is two things to me that really speak to the long-term livability of the community and just having this housing development and what it means for retaining our young skilled workforce and wanting to make homes here, and then coming right behind it is a key piece of kind of making the community more livable as well too. So very exciting. And I know this board's done a lot of great work. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all right to get back into this tough road. Okay. So
That's me.
you're up. So 5.2, Sun Peaks Skate Park Foundation presentation.
Well, we did a dry run. I failed miserably. I'm gonna pass this on to the treasurer. Your council, thank you.
He's got a press down, Amy.
So Amy, you're in charge of the tech, is that it? Give him mosquito wax and too, he's good, right?
Council staff, thank you for letting us present today. My name is Peter Wilson from the Sun Peaks Skate Park Foundation. Next. Next.
Oh, sorry, that's my bad. Okay, go. I'm trading.
Okay, on track. Gonna talk about 5 things today, just to get us all on the same page, which is the pressing issue here and moving forward. We're gonna talk about who and why. We're gonna give you a bit of a timeline. I'm gonna talk about donations and investments. I'm gonna talk about engagement. And then I'm gonna close off with design and a reveal. Next. Okay. Who we are for sure a registered charitable organization, which means we can give tax receipts to anybody who donates. It says right there, we, BC Society Incorporated, we are in good standings with the Government of Canada, CRA, financial integrity, we're transparent. There's some stewardship. Amy's the treasurer. Everything's posted on our website, sunpeakskatepark.ca. We are fully compliant, you're insured. Next. Okay. From this slide, what I took from the most was that it is a free recreation for the community. We all know this is a bit lacking up here. There's nothing really free. There's Lord of the Flies over for the children attending P5. So it'll be free for all to attend, young and old. No, don't worry, I can deal with this. Okay, multi-generational, since 2012, volunteer led. You get the picture. Next. Okay, so here's the timeline. It is imperative that you remember that this was established 2012. This is a long time, been through 3 cycles of council now. Children have been born, people have died, things have happened. So initially, from 2013 to 2018, conceptual, right? So community discussions, just developing ideas, initial site contemplation. Okay, from 2019 to 2022, we moved into a development phase. Okay, we were a growing community and we grew with you. We aligned. It says about the school there, which is also happening in P5 at some point, certainly. Next. Okay. So 2023 to 2024 is design. Pretty exciting for all of us here. We, on your behalf, established the Four Corners. We had a town hall, which most of you attended, which I'll keep cycling back to as we talk here. We engaged with professionals for the design and build. We collaborated with the municipality. There are some major players that helped us. They're there, True, Sun Peaks Excavation, Jason, Eli, Darcy, the usual players. Okay, that moves us into 2025. We're just basically refining. We're a little bit idle currently. We are ready to move into engineering from the 3D drawings that we have established. We have a good grant strategy with our team, and fundraising has been accelerated. Stakeholder alignment, that sounds like a buzzword. Next. Okay, so now we're into 2026. We have finalized the design and the 3D renderings. Perhaps we could, I brought some 3D renderings of what the park would look like. You can look at those later as you like. And then moving into 2026. So all the heavy lifting essentially has been done by the foundation. And we are going to be moving into fundraising, sponsorships, and grants. How'd we do? Not bad. Yeah, that's what it looks like. We see the tennis courts, right next to them. Next. Here we go. So this is more talking about donations and investments. Okay, so our bank account generally hovers between 100K and 115K. We don't have a lot of expenditures, especially having completed everything we did. So just down the line there, we did some surveying. That was a donation by True. Eli from Sun Peaks Excavating came and dug all the holes for the geotechnical. And then Jason has pledged $25,000 plus in sand and gravel for site services. Now, my biggest thing on this is the money we've spent, of course. Okay, so above our bank account hovering at the 100K mark, we have spent $19,420 on phase 1, 2, and I think 3 or 2.5 to get this far on 3D renderings. So this is what the park will look like when they go to engineering. This is the model they will use. There is an error here for the geotechnical report, the 787. We did 2 payments of that, just to be clear. I just didn't add that, my mistake. So we worked with Radius, we got the 3D drawings done, we did the geotechnical report, we're insured for functions. We bought a tent, it's outside, giving out free t-shirts currently. And we bought some stickers and t-shirts. Next. Okay, so fundraising, important for a project like this, clearly. There's 3 stages. We're pretty much still at the first, boots on the ground, grassroots. Hey folks, 100K is a lot of beer and t-shirts, to be clear. So that's all grassroots coming from the community. Okay, we have a corporate sponsorship platform ready. It's on our website. Please review it. And then our grant team is headed by Katie Kirker, who is gainfully employed by the Rick Hansen Foundation. So she is employed by the Rick Hansen Foundation. It's kind of like working for us on the side, advising us and helping us kind of weed through the grant world, which, as we all know, is just fabulous. Next. Okay, the community engagement. Over 12 years, we've done a lot. The Go Skateboard Day is a great thing for us. We had that postcard campaign to the school district. Again, the town hall and design collaboration, I'll circle back to that again. St. Patrick's Day was a good time, as was the barbecue. We've done a Fireman's Gala twice. We do the farmer's market, we've had some Ular parties, Giving Tuesdays, the Stoke series, so Sun Peaks events is behind us. Recently, the top to bottoms funding went to us. Next, Amy, this is going very well. Just to be clear. Okay, so, yeah. It's kind of convoluted here a bit. We're gonna talk a bit about design and radius. So on your behalf, the foundation sent out RFPs, request for proposals, to 3 firms. It's a small industry, okay? Many of them have worked together, split, formed other, anyway. So two of the firms got back to us, we chose one. This is Radius. Jim Barnum is our contact. I find him an excellent resource. And he's been with us off and on for, you know, basically from the start. Yeah, let's see what the next one looks like, maybe. Okay, yeah, we'll stick with the design content. So the RFPs go out, we pick somebody, and then we started working on sort of a rough design. And this is where that workshop really comes into play. Most of you have attended. I think that was just about a year ago, I think. Time flies. That was actually a very good turnout compared to the one at Westside that just recently happened. So I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 people, between the people in the room as well as watching on the internet. And all of those people had feedback. If you were there, you remember you were asked to draw. You were asked to, you know, it was very engaging. I thought Jim did a really good job. And what they did with all that information is compile it and make this, essentially. This is what our people want. I can speak a bit more to the design. There's a big flow bowl with some street. It covers a lot of checkpoints in a fairly small space. Does anybody know the space we're talking about, Len? Over next to everybody's good? Okay. So this is a modest skate park, and we have, Kenny Dale thinks it's magic, and that's pretty much the stamp of approval.
Masterpiece.
Massive variety.
Sorry, just PW this quickly. Do you have time, not to be on?
Please blur it out.
That's off your head. Do you have a rough idea of what, like, I see it on scale compared to the tennis court? Do we have a rough idea of the overall dimensions? We just get a set of how big the poles and things are.
It is 8,000 square feet, my good man. Yeah. Yeah. Proportionally, Rob, maybe think of like 2 of the courts to the outward sides, give or take.
Looks good.
It does look good, yeah, no, this is where we've gone to, and absolutely proud of our efforts. So this is survey-based community engagement. This is not just one person kind of making it up. What we got next, Amy? So there's a path to advancement. I think we've agreed to talk about that at a later date. You know, the whole concept is here, let's work together and get this moving, going, pushing the rock up the hill. Next, then the call to action. Yeah, again, same theme. We're gonna talk about this later. This meeting was to just get everybody up to where we are today. Next. Oh, there's Kenny and I, my son. Yeah, looking sweaty. Next. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Questions?
Council.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I just want to say good job. Thank you sort of for being persistent and keeping it on the radar and all the work you've done.
Very good.
It was a good presentation. Yeah, it's, I can say, for all of council, it's on our minds and it's something we look forward to actively working towards.
So kind.
I have one question.
Yes.
Is Adam watching online?
Probably.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Councilor.
Just to our presenters, do you have an order of magnitude from your designer as to what this will cost?
We're not there yet. Yeah, we need to have that meeting. I think before anything happens, there needs to be a contract signed between municipality and ourselves, or the municipality and the builder. And then some permits will have to be issued, and then the municipality will have to get on board with fundraising as well. I'm not prepared to speak on that today.
It looks great. Looks great.
Thanks for the director.
Thank you so much.
And thanks also to the presentation materials provided last week, because we got a sneak preview of the renderings last week.
Oh, really?
Right, that is to mention, it was a Google Drive forwarded with our
Yeah.
pertinent information.
Extremely helpful. The three firms that responded to the RFP.
Yes,
It was Radius, obviously.
Yes.
Who were the other two?
Transition, whom we've already worked with, and then New Line didn't respond.
Okay.
I can give you some background on that, because Transition owner and New Line owner are in fact brothers. So I think they kind of like didn't want to split the vote on that one.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Yeah.
To that, that was a rough go for our board. That decision wasn't taken lightly. There was some heat. And there was some lengthy discussions. And, yeah, either would have been great. Radius is a good fit, and they were a little bit more patient. I don't think Transition would have been quite as reasonable in that regard.
Yeah.
So yeah, RFP, everything by the book. We did it right. Yeah, all on your behalf, certainly.
So any more questions? Anybody? We're good?
Thank you, guys.
Very much. Look
Yeah.
forward to the next steps and get some shovels in the ground. Yay.
Free t-shirts outside.
Yay.
Thanks for coming, young lad.
So 6, mayor and council reports, I don't have anything in particular. Glad to be back, I was away for a couple of weeks, thank you to Councilor Gillespie for running the last meeting, and allowing me to unplug a little bit, that was great. Yeah, anybody else? I don't think we have anything. No, okay, and moving on to 7, we have administrative report 7.1. We have our council strategic plan and priorities update. DAO County.
Thank you, Mayor Opula. So the council adopted a strategic plan in December of 2025, which identified its vision, priorities and goals throughout the remainder of this term. The strategic plan acts as a roadmap and allows staff to operationalize council's priorities into actionable initiatives and projects. And this is done through the development of an administration operational plan. So in that strategic plan, council identified 4 key strategic priorities and areas of focus. Pipes, pavement, and power, so striving towards maintaining the existing infrastructure while ensuring there's adequate capacity to accommodate future growth. The second one, balancing the finances, so balancing the tax rate in a fair and sustainable manner, ensuring adequate capital reserves and operational revenues to serve the immediate and long-term needs of the municipality. Emergency management planning, working towards a wildfire resilient community, addressing natural hazards and disasters through emergency management planning and preparedness. And lastly, strategic partnerships, fostering strong and respectful partnerships with our community members First Nations neighbors, Sun Peaks Resort, Tourism Sun Peaks, the TNRD, and other levels of government. Staff have developed departmental corporate plans, and these in turn have been incorporated into an overarching operational plan that outlines key initiatives and projects that align directly with these strategic priorities. The operational plan provides guidance to staff on where they should be focusing resources and efforts, and it acts as a tool to report on progress to council, which we're doing today. So I just want to actually acknowledge first the work and dedication of staff that went into executing on these priorities. I'm not going to go through the operational plan and progress line by line. There's a lot in there unless council wants me to do that. I hope council's had a chance to review, but I am happy to highlight any major initiatives and progress and success, and staff, of course, are here to answer any questions.
Council. Questions, comments? Councilor Reagan?
Well, from a positive point of view, I think the amount of work that's gone into the operational plan certainly is tremendous, and it dovetails nicely into sort of the strategic planning criteria. So I did have one question, because one of the issues that we have on our docket to tackle was the subdivision and development bylaw, and I don't see it in the listing of the operational plans.
Thank you.
It is ongoing.
Yeah, councilor.
Okay.
And absolutely, if there's something that we list, including in here, please do flag it for us, but that doesn't. We'll add that in.
Good.
And I can say, I won't speak on behalf of Director Burton, but our capital projects manager is working on that. And that's much needed.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on to 7.2. You're still up. We have amendments to the Sun Peaks Housing Authority Articles of Incorporation. You care to speak to that before we?
Yes, it's really cool. So the Sun Peaks Housing Authority, the board of directors, is Chair Reagan spoke to earlier with our housing manager, Jesse, have been operational and very active, especially with the BC Builds project in the last year and a half, 2 years. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge how far this organization has come, at least since I first started. And I think, again, that was reflected in the presentation given by our housing manager, Chair Reagan. The Housing Authority is an independent municipally owned corporation of the municipality. Its articles of incorporation establish its name, structure, purpose, as well as the board of directors composition. The current articles of incorporation designate board members from specific categories and organizations. And what the board has found over time is that this is proven to be a bit limiting, especially when it comes to having to appoint new directors. As the work of the Housing Authority picks up, it has also become clear that the board would benefit from specific knowledge, experience, and expertise of individuals with certain backgrounds. So to address this, changes are proposed to have a few of the director positions assigned to community members at large, and to ensure ongoing alignment between the municipality and the Housing Authority. Changes are also proposed to have the CAO of the municipality as a director, and this is similar to Whistler's Housing Authority model as well. Staggered terms for directors have also been included, so the board's not in a situation where they see significant turnover when appointment terms come up. In addition to the amendments, administration worked with the housing manager to develop guidelines, outline the selection and qualification criteria for board members. This is something that didn't exist before. And the goal is to assist the board with vetting and council with appointing future board members.
Excellent. So we have two recommendations. First one being a council, a motion to approve the amendments to the Sun Peaks Housing Authority Articles of Incorporation. We have mover from Councillor Ryken, seconder from Councillor Dye. Any discussion? Debate your question? Seeing none, all in favor? And the second recommendation of a motion for council to approve the Sun Peaks Housing Authority Board of Directors qualification and selection criteria guidelines.
That motion.
Moved by Councillor Reagan, second by Councillor Gillespie. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I got your vote off. No, finish the vote.
Okay. There we go. Approved.
I
Go ahead.
should have noted, Mayor O'Toole, that the changes do need to be approved by the province.
Okay,
So
yeah, so
now
there'll
the
be some
council
time.
has approved the changes, we'll send them off to the ministry. I don't have a timeline and how long it will take, but as soon as those changes are incorporated, then obviously the new board composition will take effect for future appointments.
Excellent.
I was just gonna say, yeah, those changes make a lot of sense. It makes.
Yeah.
We're definitely limiting ourselves before and.
Okay. Moving on to 7.3. We have a Fire Smart Program and Achievement and Future Planning Update, Chief Chabon.
Thank you. This report is basically for, helpful information. It's just to kind of summarize what the Fire Smart Program has achieved since we started working with it in 2015. Most of the major achievements have happened in the last, few years in regards to Fire Smart, activities. But some piece has been doing, forest fuel engagement, forest fuel management since 2011. So the two of them work hand in hand. In 2018, the UBCM announced the CRI Fire Smart Community Funding Support Program. Sorry, Fire Smart Community Funding and Supports Program. There we go. But it actually required communities to have a Fire Smart education component in order to receive funding for fuel management projects. And over those years, the Fire Smart program has evolved and grown. And we've been able to kind of split up our activities into some key program areas. So Fire Smart property assessments, community chipping programs, structure protection capacity, a Fire Smart program coordination, some public education and outreach, planning and program development, training and professional development, and continuing on with our forest fuel management. To date, we've done probably about 30 Fire Smart assessments, and that's in combination with single family homes, critical infrastructure, as well as neighborhoods like stratas, quite large ones to do. With the chipping program, we've seen year-over-year increases in the amount of involvement from the community. Last year, we had 2 days with a total of about 65 properties participating in that program. The structure protection unit equipment that was started 2 years ago. So we can purchase up to 40. Started at 45,000, was increased to 50,000 annually on structure protection equipment. It's done through phases, and we're about halfway through that. We're just going to be starting phase 3, and fortunately, we were able to receive a donated trailer from the Fire Department Society that we can house all this equipment in. Our Fire Smart Coordinator program position was actually started last year under our 2025 CRI grant. And that position is fully funded through the grant funding, and we have that through until April 2027. Part of the Fire Smart Coordinator's role is to do the public education and outreach. She's also been able to get our community collaborative program running again and reaching out to different members of the community. We actually met, it was just last week again. We're working with the planning department on some wildfire risk reduction strategy. This is also funded through the CRI grant, and we're looking at updating or creating potentially a wildfire development permit area. But we've also, since 2019, used that funding to create update our community wildfire protection plan, create the landscape design guidelines, and then to create a brand new community wildfire resiliency plan, which replaced the CWPP. Much of the funding through CRI helps support professional development within the fire department. So training such as instant command system, wildland firefighting, engine boss course through BC Wildfire, Task Force Leader 1, and then fire and life safety educator courses for the department. It also provides funding for sending members of our team to the annual Fire Smart Wildfire Symposium, and we've been doing that since 2021. When it comes to forest fuel reduction or forest fuel management, in 2019, we had 26.29 hectares prescribed, we treated 16.34. We've had pretty much increases every year since on our prescriptions. We have had a little bit of slowdown to kind of catch up. But we are now prescribing, or going to be prescribing 80.8 hectares in 2026. There's the new funding that we just received. To date, under just strictly Fire Smart activities since 2019, we're gonna, by the end of our year 2 funding, we're gonna spend close to just over $500,000. And our fuel management, at the end of year 2 will be almost $518,000, for a total of over $1 million since 2019 this year. Since 2023, we've been strengthening our relationships with the Forest Enhancement Society of BC and the Ministry of Forests, Accounts Division, as well as the Mountain Resource Ranch. Some of our fuel management projects over the last few years have been funded from Forest Enhancement Society, which has been reducing our reliance on the CRI funds for fuel management. But we're also starting to engage the Mountain Resource Branch for Crownland wildfire risk reduction applications. We're hoping that WRR funding will be an available option for future fuel management projects. We'll continue to advocate for it. The future funding for the Fire Smart Community Funding and Support Program is currently under review by the province. Some Peaks continues to advocate for sustaining long-term funding for the wildfire risk reduction and Fire Smart initiatives, but at this time, no information has been released confirming that the program will continue. So working into our financial implications on that, if it were to cease, there would be a significant financial and operational impacts to our wildfire mitigation and resilience initiatives. Our Fire Smart coordinator position, as mentioned, is fully funded through CRI grant, and they work on the property assessments, the programs like chipping, public education, and structure protection funding, and we would require replacement funding to continue that program and that position. Fuel management and treatment costs. While recent efforts has diversified funding through Forest Enhancement Society, it's normally been supported with CFS funding has normally supported planning and prescriptions. So it may limit our ability to advance or maintain a consistent fuel management program, potentially increasing long-term wildfire risk and future suppression costs. And then capital and equipment investments. Ongoing investment is still required to fully equip our structure protection unit under the remaining program phases. If funding ceases, completion of our SPU outfitting and future replacement or upgrading of equipment will place additional pressures on capital reserves for requirement. And then increased long-term costs. Reduced prevention and mitigation activities may result in increased emergency response, recovery, and infrastructure repair costs in the event of a wildfire impacting the community. Preventive Fire Smart investments have historically reduced long-term financial exposure by lowering wildfire intensity and structural loss risk. So, in summary, the loss of this funding would shift a substantial financial burden from the province to the municipality. Council would be required to consider alternative funding strategies, service level reductions, or budget reallocations to sustain wildfire resiliency efforts. All of the identification for taxation reserves and long-term benefits.
Thank you, Chief. Council, questions? Councilor Reagan.
Thanks, Chief, for the comprehensive summary. That's very positive. one comment and one question. It seems to me earlier, maybe a month or two ago, we had gotten wind that the province was going through this review and reducing funding. And I think we as a council authorized sending a letter to UBCM perhaps.
To the province, I think, or to the ministry.
Yeah, it was to the mayor.
I'll double check.
Okay, we're just curious if those went out and would be mindful
Yeah.
to keep our eye out with UBCM if they're having some efforts to continue to lobby on behalf of
Yeah.
the municipal governments to retain that funding. And then the other question I had was around the relationship between prescription size and actual treatment. Is that a dollar derivative or?
Treatments are generally much more than prescriptions. And the treatments can vary depending on the complexity of the land that it's actually being treated. Some is hand treatment, which can often be quite expensive, sending in people to cut things down. Versus when you're taking in a machine and just cutting out a whole bunch of stuff. And this is why CRI is getting out of fewer treatments, is because there's such a huge variation in costs across the province. They can't say, okay, it's gonna cost us, your maximum is a certain amount per hectare. It varies drastically depending on where you are. And we've heard from contract crews up here where our area can be quite difficult to work in. Whereas if you look down the valley bottoms, you can see through trees and it's much easier for them to complete work.
And kind of speaking of the sort of valley bottom, like sort of coming up from Whitecroft, looking at Mountain Resorts branch and stuff, like I know we've kind of gotten conflicting reports on where they're sort of prescribing the prescription should go. Does that mean there could maybe be a little bit more focus on coming up from Whitecroft? I know we've talked numerous times about if a fire came up through that way. As of right now, what we have been getting has mostly been focused on the other side, not a lot below the village.
Well, there is plans right now for creating a prescription down in the kind of the Whitecroft waterfall area in that kind of block, which hasn't been treated before, but I'm aware of. They are working on sections coming up from Heffley Lake. That's the prescriptions.
Sorry, Chief, anything, what about the high side of the road? So when we're talking the north side of ICBC corner. You know, there's an initial clearing there, but one of the things Mayor Rain, and going back to the 2024 UBCM, when we were meeting with ministries, that was one of his dialogues with Ministry of Forest, and was just about that whole aspect of how if it's coming up that side of the valley, is some sort of break. And there was pushback in regards to not easy to work in, to your point, and easy to log, but the alternative is, it might not be easy to work in, but if we don't do something at some point, and a fire comes up that side, it doesn't have a whole lot of stuff.
They have been working on the north side of the road on the way down to Whitecroft. You might have noticed some of the piles there last year, I think it was running last fall. The plan is to continue that down further along the road down to ICBC corner. And then also work above that logman block that was put in there above the ICBC corner. But further north of ICBC corner, I haven't seen any plans for that just at this point.
Okay. Anybody else? More questions? Thanks for that. That was great. Thank you. You are still up, sir. 7.4 call volume update.
Yes, this is another just information only. I just wanted to give council an update on our call volume that we just experienced in the first quarter of this year. We responded to a total of 70 calls, representing a 52% increase compared to the same period last year, where we had only received 46 calls. This makes the first quarter of 2026 the busiest on record for St. Fire Rescue. Got some examples of previous years. Our previous busiest mornings in 2024 with 55 calls. so still substantially higher than any previous years. Our call rate down from January to March, we had 12 fire incidents, 36 medical calls, 5 road rescue, 17 service calls for a total of 78. Medical responses continue to account for the largest portion of our overall call volume. We attended over half the total number of medical calls responded to in all of 2025. And our current activity levels represents 43% of all the total call volume reported in 2025. 8 of the 12 fire-related calls attended during the first quarter, 2 were reportable to the Office of the Fire Commissioner. 1 involved an electrical related fire within the Strata residential unit that resulted in sprinkler activation. Damage was contained to the affected unit. And then the second incident involved combustible material contacting the heating device within a commercial property, resulting in smoke emissions. Occupants were safely cleared and fire crews ensured that the source of ignition was fully extinguished and no risk of reignition. So yeah, January and March were also our busiest January and March on record. And sustained increase in call volume reflects growing service demands and places significant operational pressure on both staff and volunteers. I'd like to formally commend our members and their continued professionalism and dedication in responding to the extraordinary number of calls from retaining the training convention.
Council questions, Councilor Dodd?
Thanks for the report there, chief. One question I did kind of have, thanks for the breakdown now that we're getting that. With the jump in call volume for this year, is it all calls going up kind of in together, or is there one sort of category that's going faster than increased more?
We did see a large increase in our medical calls I think it was mostly in January. There was a lot of really sick people that were in some weeks. It was interesting to see. We hadn't seen quite a increase in medical calls like that before. And what we were seeing is typically we'll get a call a day or every other day, but we were also seeing days where we were getting 3 calls in a day, sometimes at the same time or back to back. It was quite unexpected for everyone to see that happen.
Is there any correlation between like tough flu season and stuff like that, or are we just occupancy side, more medical calls?
It's tough to say on that side of things. I don't know enough details on that side.
That's right, anything for you? Good. Thank you, Chief. That was excellent. Okay. Moving on to 8.1. Director of Finance, we have our 2025-29 financial plan amendment bylaw. Any preparation here, if you'd like to share?
We are recommending the final adoption of the amendment bylaw of the 2025-2029 5-year financial plan. 228-002-2026 to reflect the capital project cost changes, unanticipated expenditures and up to date with the 2026 budget. The amendments are funded through reserves, contingencies, DCC and grants, and ensures continued financial stability while addressing priority infrastructure needs.
Awesome, thank you. So the recommendation, I need a motion that council adopt the 2025-29 5-year financial amendment bylaw 0228-002-2026. Bring it mover. Councilor Ryken, second by Councilor Gillespie. Questions or comments? We've been through this quite a bit already, and all those in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to 8.2, we have a rezoning application. It looks like here we're doing first and second and proceeding to a public hearing. Director Hoffer, you could share with us before we met.
Well,
Full year at this point.
thanks, Mayor O'Toole. I'll actually pass this off to Randy Lambert, our contract planner, who is on the Zoom call.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. What you have before you, as Mayor indicated, is a site-specific rezoning to relocate Flight Deck Cannabis Corporation from 1160 Sun Peaks Road to number 83250 Village Way. The site-specific rezoning is required as your current zoning bylaw requires all cannabis retail sales to undertake a rezoning, as the use is prohibited in all zones, including zones broadly permitting retail uses. The current zoning, the bylaw currently has a cannabis site-specific retail permitted use at 1160, and they're wanting to relocate, as I indicated previously. What you have in the package is a letter of intent, and they've indicated, the applicants and the owners have indicated what their desire is and why they're wanting to move. The official community plan, in administration's opinion, is supportive of the project or of the proposal, given that there are a number of policies that support the proposal. And from a land use perspective, similar to the sale of other legal goods and or services or products, cannabis having minimal impacts. It has likely more regulated than alcohol sales due to social stigma associated with cannabis and the relative newness of its legalization. When we went through the PET review process, there were no major technical issues, no municipal enforcement issues at the current location. And one of the things that council will have to do, should they consider the proposal, is your business license bylaw right now has a restriction or a buffer area that a retail cannabis is not permitted within 250 meters of specific facilities, amenities, such as a school, parks, and sports field. And in this particular case, the proposed location is within 250 meters. So you would have to provide an exemption to that particular provision. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. So under the first recommendation, a motion to zoning amendment bylaw number 02352026 be introduced and read for a first and second time. Councillor Gillespie, seconded by Councillor Reagan. Discussion. Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question back to staff, and it's relative to the ownership that's outlined in the summary portion of the report. So as I understand it, there's two owners of the Strata lot, which are the Nazalowskis. Then there's reference to Flight Deck Enterprises Inc., which is the applicant, and Flight Deck Cannabis Co., which is the current operation that's moving. So I'm just trying to understand what all the little pieces are about. Are there two businesses involved in this particular operation, or is there only one business? Because additionally in the report, there was discussion around not rescinding the zoning on the current location because there were different owners, but yet we received a letter from what would appear to be the Flight Deck Cannabis Co., which might be the owner. So of 1160 Sun Peaks Road. I'm just trying to understand who owns what.
Randy, did you catch that?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I did. My understanding to Councillor Reagan's question is the Nazalowskis are the owners of the strata. They are the titled owners, specifically on their certificate of title. The Flight Deck Enterprises Incorporation is led by Sonia Nazalowski as well as Kyle Vike. And I believe Patrick Nazalowski is also part of the ownership group in there. There may also be Melissa Vike may also be part owner as well. So those are the four people that are involved in the Flight Deck Enterprises Incorporation on the actual application.
And it's the reference to Flight Deck Cannabis Company, just an error.
Councilor Rankin is likely just an error and or a mix up between what is incorporation versus company.
Just 1 second. So CEO, we have the proponents here is acknowledge that maybe there was a misunderstanding in that. Should we, are they okay to clarify for council?
Is that your discretion?
Yeah.
I think Mr. Lambright explained it. I don't know if Councilor is satisfied with that.
Are we okay with that? Everybody's good?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Okay, Councilor Gillespie.
Maybe during the question period,
No.
you can.
Okay, we'll do that.
I mean,
You've been way in during the Q&A at the end. Okay. Any other questions around that first motion? Comments? Okay, all in favor? The second motion before us, that we move the zoning amendment bylaw number 200235-2026 to proceed to a public hearing in conjunction with a regular council meeting. Can I get a mover? Councilor Rankin, second by Councilor Guy. Further discussion or questions? All in favor? Awesome. Motion is carried. 8.2, so we have 9, we need new business, please, no. No. And correspondence and information. Just to be received, we've got 10.1, a letter on daylight savings, resolution. Trust that everybody's read through that. And then we have 10.2, the Silver resolution on revenue sharing for PSD and GSD. Do I need those as two separate motions to receive the?
To receive them both.
Okay, can I get a motion to receive the correspondence? Moved by Councilor Guy, second by Councilor Ryken. All in favor? So moved. Okay. And now to 11, questions from the public.
So just to clarify, because I also noticed my name is spelled wrong in there. Flight Deck Enterprises Inc. is our like legal name, and Flight Deck Cannabis Co. is just our public working name.
DBA.
And then myself and Kyle Vike are the only two owners of the store.
Okay.
Yeah, and Pat and I are the owners of the proposed lot.
Okay, so the new Strata location property owned by yourself and Pat.
Yeah.
Physical business operating at its present location is owned by yourself and Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Other questions? Anything online?
Right, Dave Burnham, question for Councilor Ryken as related to the housing authority. It's listed in the presentation that there was the max requirement for income. I assume that's household income. Is there a minimum qualification?
I don't believe there is any criteria in the BC Bills framework that's a minimum.
Thank you.
Anything online, Joe? No, we're clear. Anything else? Okay. Excellent, thanks everyone for coming. Can I get a motion? Oh, hold on a second. Gotta go to the other one. I need my other paperwork. 12.1, I gotta get a motion to council close this meeting under the community charter, section 91I, legal advice, and 91D, the security of the property of the municipality. Moved by Councilor Ryken, second by Councilor Dye. All in favor? This meeting is adjourned.